Bacon here. Happy Digitakt 2 week. Leakage, I guess, started to happen, and that was what, on Tuesday, right before I went to bed. Got a notification that this leaked. Saw a staging site from Elektron, and I'm like, ooh, this has legs, and here we are. Next thing I know, all the cool kid reviewers like Loopop and everyone, they all of a sudden have it. And so if you don't know who Loopop is, go check him out. He really is the professor when it comes to this stuff. I don't think I've found anyone better as far as really breaking down a device. There's the professor and then everyone else. That's pretty much how it works. Dude's just killer at what he does. And he already dropped a video on this. I'll put a link in the description if you don't know who he is. But if you're new to the scene, if you're already in the scene, then you already know who the crap he is. I was sitting around looking at the website, and I'm like, I wonder really what their most popular device is. And sometimes you get to see behind the curtain just by looking at what the site's doing and what pages people are landing on. Now, this is all online stuff. They could have a brick and mortar that's killing it. I don't know. I'm not in Sweden, but I do have this. Some of you may find this interesting. I find it fascinating. So I'm going to go through this real quick and then just give you my thoughts overall. I've watched a ton of review videos on this, and at the end of the video, I'll let you know if I pre-ordered or not. Here's what we did. We went to Google Trends. We checked out Digitakt 2, Syntakt, and Digitakt. So the OG Digitakt, and then D2, and then Syntakt. And I'm like, all right, what's their hot item going on here? And we're going to start with the states, and I'll go worldwide here. So if you take a look at Digitakt, hey, you know, everybody, you know, Montana's getting a lot of love. The darker that is, the more search interest is there. And then compared on the breakdown, it's like, looks like everybody in Oklahoma is all about the Syntakt. Not as much love for the D2, we'll call it D2 and Digitakt OG. And it looks like we got a little bit of action here in Connecticut. So all you Connecticut and Oklahoma kids, you're all about that Syntakt. Everybody else is all about the Digitakt. And then you jerks in Idaho and Wyoming and all that, you're no love. Nobody loves anything over there. So get down to D2, and we're seeing some volume slowly popping up. Nothing huge, but here's what everybody's doing. You know, that's what they're doing. And then if we go down to Syntakt, all right, Oregon, you guys are all about the Syntakt. So you're leading the way with all your search interest there. And then Digitakt in general, Oregon again. So that's what we have. That's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at worldwide here. So if we switch over to worldwide, we'll see what countries are all about it. So let's scroll down. Oh, Argentina is stealing it. Stealing the OG Digitakt love. There you go. So let's scroll down a little bit more here. Digitakt 2. This is, you know, obviously a new kid on the block, so you're not going to see much volume going on, but yeah. Not much in Africa. What's going on there? Come on, people. And then what do we have? Sweden, of course. Finland. That's the hot point. That makes sense right there. But you got some push 3 competition coming at you. And then Digitakt, what do we got? Yeah. Sweden still leads the way. Aussies are all about it. Wow, that's interesting. What's also interesting is everybody's like, wait, are they discontinuing the OG Digitakt? And that might be coming around the corner. Who knows? So there you have that. Now, we take this a step further. I'm going to scoop my head over here. And we look at what's going on with the actual website. So this is elektron.se. Here's the volume. So what I do for a living is I analyze traffic and do stuff like that. I own a marketing company. And so when I look at what's going on here and I see, okay, here's, of course, this is super common having the home page bringing in most of the traffic. But over the last 6 months, you could see what's going on every day. That fluctuates. And And let's take a look at like their most important breadwinner pages. You know, so you have Syntakt Explorer. So it's basically the Syntakt is getting most of the love as far as attention goes. You know, here's their volume. And here's their traffic, you know, outside of their home page. And then you go English, so it's the English version of the home page. And then you go down a little bit more, and you have the OG Digitakt. Now, what I found was interesting is you have the Octatrack here too, taking in some traffic. Then you have the mod cycles, and then you get down to Digitakt 2. So I think you're going to see this spike up like crazy over time, but it's interesting to see the volume. You know, it's no other synth nerds are doing what I just did right there. So some of you might find it interesting, some of you not, but it's kind of interesting just seeing what volume they're getting on particular pages, so you can understand probably what their best sellers are. And right now, I'd say this is their hottest seller. And then coming in here with just the OG Digitakt, which makes sense. Then you start to think of the sales logic behind it, which makes sense that that's what they're kind of going for, you know, when it comes to refreshing. And so there you have it. So that's why they put the focus on that. So I was looking at this going, I have both the OG Digitakt and the Digitone, and both are just stupid amazing devices. Like, I'm still wrapping my head around how awesome these things are. And I was like, they came out around the same time. That's interesting how they went Digitakt first. And I think it's because of the mad love community behind it. Like, when I see people talk about that device, they talk about it like they're never going to sell it. Well, now I'll bet you they will because of the second one. So this is the page that's their big breadwinner right here as you take a look at everything. It's kind of interesting to see, hey, yeah, this gets the second most volume on their site. Now I'm going to give you my thoughts on D2. They address so much stuff that I started thinking in the back of my head, hey, they should probably get rid of that, or hey, they should change that, for the reasons of I've already seen them do it on other devices. Why aren't they doing it on this? And the first one that popped in my head was, hey, how come it's just, 64 steps? Why not 128? Hell, why not a bunch more? That was like the first thing. I was like, when I first started playing with this, I was looking at the limitations and I was like, okay, why did they cap that? Why can't they just put another row in there? And so, and I've never been a fan of the Honda Civic coloring with the screen, that particular color. And so I just look at that and I think Honda Civic. That's all I think. Honda Civic. I don't like that color. That's personal preference on me. The kick, snare, tom, clap, using that, I'm like, that's kind of dumb, because that's not static. Like, if it was permanently static, yeah, sure, that makes sense, but it's not. And then I just, I'm looking at all these other devices. I'm like, why isn't this uniform across the board for a lot of stuff that's going on? Why aren't all the effects in the same page? I have to like fish around for different effects, and yeah, so that's one of the big complaints that I had about this. And then they come out with this, and I'm like, okay, refrigerator Tesla box, and or Cybertruck box, right here. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, they did what I thought. They did what I wanted them to do. And they got rid of that, and they changed the screen. I'm like, great, how do I hack this? I was like looking in forums going, how do I get this? This is what I want. I want that color. And I found someone talking about, yeah, they did it and they had to gut it and they did XYZ. And I'm like, this is too fussy. Maybe they'll come out and deep down, I was like, maybe they'll come out with a second one that addresses this. And it's like they read my mind. Another thing, I always thought, the big elektron right here, that was a little much. I really like how they made that classy. So they started progressing to what I was thinking about with this. Just, I'm not a fan of the refrigerator material, fingerprint magnet. That's really what it is. And I'm like, yeah, let's not do that. And then this week they dropped this on us, and I went, here we go. Getting rid of that stupid memory limitations, just blowing it up storage-wise. All kinds of bells and whistles, all kinds of effects that I'm looking for. They did chorus finally on this, because I'm playing with the Digitone going, why isn't this on the other device? Why isn't this? And then I go to Digitakt, and I go, why isn't this on Digitone? You know, so there's a whole bunch of back and forth, and I get it. They're here to sell products, and they chop up all their awesomeness, and they sell it to you in little boxes, and it's like Pokemon, you gotta collect them all. And then you put them all together, and you go, hey, great, they're one big happy family, and yes, you win, Elektron. You get my money for doing it that way. But now they're addressing just a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh man, this is what it should have been in the first place. And I get it, these devices, they over time they evolve and get better and all that, and which, you know, and I look at this, they finally got rid of the labels here. I don't know if anyone knows what these dots are about. I'm trying to figure out, is that just like a design thing, or does it have any kind of meaning behind it? But then they did this, and I'm like, whoa, I never thought I'd see the day where they did go 128. And I'm like, oh, okay, now we're talking. So the only thing that I'm seeing that's missing, at least for me in my preference, is battery. And I don't know if we're ever going to see that. There's space for it. I know there's space for it. I busted open my OG Digitakt, and I've seen it. Definitely space for it, but I wonder how much production cost would be for that. You know, because now you're ramping up a whole battery division to get that done, or you outsource it, and then you got to do that. So that's how my brain works, because I work in a lot of startup kind of environments, and so I kind of think that way. And when I see this, I just kind of go, okay, so I wonder what their margins are. I wonder what the actual cost is to produce this. And now they don't have to do redesigns for the most part. I mean, they added a few buttons here and there, but in general, it's not a lot invested in R&D and all that. And so that's how my OCD brain just kind of goes, oh, I wonder why they didn't do X, Y, Z, that kind of stuff. So it's funny. They're like, oh yeah, this is an OLED screen. And I'm like, well, that's great. Why didn't you, why is it still pixelated? Why is this very much Minecraft still? Why didn't you, make it sharper? I guess that's their signature now. They're just going to ride this till the wheels fall off. We're not going to see a super high res, whatever. The device behind me is a Kai Push, and gorgeous big screen on it, high res, no kind of 8-bit looking action going on. So I guess they're rocking with that for a while, but then they started doing page stuff, and I'm like, oh, here we go. They added just so many things, and the box is always solid. It's always, the weight's fantastic. It's just, the same clicky awesomeness, the same everything. Check out this video if you haven't. The mysterious cat video kind of looks like they just slapped a camera on the cat in this video, and he's all run around hiding, and kind of you'll see what I mean when you watch it. But this is their official launch video, is what it looks like. And as we go down here, see what I mean? It's the boxy square stuff. It's like, I get it. I get what they're doing. They're going for that look, and that's great and all. But I wonder if they're going to change that, because I think that would look amazing if they went hardcore high res on that. I'd love to see a not as pixelated version of that. So we're gonna scroll down a little bit, and they added another machine. They just, you have to check out the video. You got to check out this guy. Check that out, and then check out Loop Ops breakdown. And they just, see my tummy, that's gas. That's gas just forming right now for this. So they just addressed a lot of the stuff that I wanted them to address. And it's going to be another learning curve if you've never touched these devices before. But I think one of the most powerful thing about these devices, if you learn one, you got that in your belt. And then any new device that comes along, you're like, oh, familiar ground. You just have to learn this amount more versus, you know, this amount that you already know. So you got, here's the new stuff you gotta learn, and it's looking like same deal with this. Stereo is the other thing. That's the big thing. I mean, but at the end of the day, with what they've done with the previous boxes, I haven't been using this going, oh man, I wish this wasn't stereo. These things sound so good in general, but I'm sure that's gonna change. It's like the hidden. He's shy. Look at that. He's hiding. So good. Here we go. This is where it's at right there. 20 gigs plus drive, 400 megs sample memory. I mean, freaking give me that. Shut up and take my money. One of those things, and then boom. That's gonna be a hoot. And once we get down, boom. That's what I really wanted bad right there. And here you go. Here's your OLED. 128 by 64 pixel of blockiness. So there you go. And no battery. That's the only thing that I'm like, man. Because now I gotta run around with this guy. Oh, it's in reverse. That's great. But this jackery thing. So wherever I go, I gotta slap that. And I know I could go get a ripcord and do a little battery thing, but I'm trying this first. I'm gonna, if you do that, you run the cable up, and I don't have to worry about the little battery, and I can just sit on a chair and just go nuts wherever I'm at. But you know, that's pretty beefy, pretty heavy too. So I went through, I've seen a lot. I've seen enough videos to really get my gas going. And there comes a point with these devices where the term slam dunk comes into my head. And when that term pops into my head, I buy new. And that's exactly what I did with this. I pre-ordered it. Because this is a slam freaking dunk in my head. And so I already messed with the OG enough to know this is an absolute amazing device. And once you get that workflow down, you understand the ins and outs, and you understand that this is a device that makes you better than you actually are. Those are my favorite kind of devices. That's that click moment where I'm like, oh man, this is like the device of killer happy accidents and even killer intentional non-accidents. And I mean, and then they drop that on us. What I'm looking forward to even more than this is the Digitone 2. You know they're gonna do it. Came out at the same time. You know their R&D's like, here's the Digitone 2 coming out. We're gonna give you a buttload of tracks. We're gonna do the same deal. We're gonna get rid of the goofy buttons on the right. We're gonna just make it so it's gorgeous like that. Give you all kinds of 16 tracks. We're gonna do the D2 treatment, and you know that's gonna go down. And that's the only thing that gets me more excited than this, because I'm madly in love with the tone, and that's the surprise of the year for me. All right, that's a lot of chatting. That's my take on everything. I will see you on the next one. Put in the comments who did a pre-order. I'd love to see if people are waiting for the used market on this, or not even buying into this at all, or actually went and wet their pants like me and slapped down the bucks and said, nope, this one's new. This one I'm holding on for a long time. Super stoked about it. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for stopping by.